Good evening. The October 19th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of the City of Longview is now called to order. Commissioner Sage will lead us in the invocation. Please rise as you're able.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this great city. Thank you for the opportunity we have to represent it. We pray that you will be with us tonight in the decisions we make, that you will guide and direct us. Pray that you will be with us in the coming week. Watch over us, protect us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The next item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting in August. Has everyone had a chance to look at them, and are there any corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. We're now to the citizen comment. If you have this portion of the citizen comment are those that are made other than the public hearing items that we have on the agenda tonight. If you wish to speak on an item that's on the agenda, please wait until that time to speak. Please begin by stating your name and address for the public record when you come to the microphone. Are there any public comments to be made? Citizen comments? Hearing none, we'll move to our consent agenda. We are now on the consent agenda, and the items on this agenda are plats that meet the requirements of the City of the Longview Subdivision Ordinance. These items will be approved with one vote unless any member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, any member of the public, or the applicant would like an item removed from consent and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. Would anyone like for an item to be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion at this time? Speak up. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. The motion carries. Thank you. Now to the regular agenda. The purpose of this meeting is to hear all pertinent testimony of those in support of and in opposition to the applications before the Commission. Tonight is the first of two public hearings required to approve a change in zoning. The Commission also considers plats. The procedure for public hearing items to be followed tonight will be: the public hearing will be opened and testimony will be heard first from staff, then from the applicant, and then the general public, and that includes those in support of and in opposition of the request. If you're part of a large group with a common interest, we ask that you appoint a spokesperson rather than have each individual restate the same information. When addressing the Commission, please begin by stating your name and address and try to limit your comments to 5 minutes. When all sides have spoken, the public hearing on the matter will be closed and no further public discussion will be entertained. After each public hearing is closed, the Commission will vote on the request. The zoning request and the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation will go forward to the second public hearing, which will be conducted by the City Council on November the 11th. We're now to regular agenda item A, and Angela, will you introduce it, please?
Yes, ma'am. A public hearing will be held to consider application PD 21-03, filed by Longview Christian School, requesting a rezone of approximately 12.68 acres of Abstract 129, H. McNutt Survey, Tract 28, and Abstract 262, A. Jordan Survey, Tract 17, Section 4, from single family to planned development for a private school with a daycare located at 1237 Pegues Place. And I'll go on to my staff report. The applicant is requesting, as I stated before, a rezone from single family to planned development for a private school with a daycare. Located at Pegues Place, 1237 Pegues Place. The existing, the existing facility was the former Forest Park Middle School at this location and the location to the south. It was purchased by another school, and eventually Longview Christian School purchased this property. Currently, the daycare for Longview Christian School is located to the south of this property, and they would like to move it to this location to provide more room for their school. This site includes an existing structure that is approximately 4,000 square feet in size, with an existing soccer field and baseball field. They are proposing to add a parking lot with approximately 109 spaces. Piggy's Place is maintained by the city of Longview and is a collector roadway. This type of development is appropriate as long as access management is followed. Staff finds that the proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses. Therefore, it does not constitute spot zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Does the commission have any questions for staff on this item?
So is the zoning just on part of the old school? I mean,
That is correct. So the plan development originally was for the south side, which was the original Forest Park, the south side of the property. Let me go back to the zoning map. And you see that PD 12-10, that was for the private school and daycare, and then they purchased this northern portion after the fact from another school that had purchased that property.
okay.
Okay, so there's an existing structure there that they're wanting to use that they haven't used before. I got you.
That is correct.
Okay,
You can see it kind of on the bottom right.
Right,
There's an
okay.
existing building.
got you.
Are there any further questions at this point of staff? Hearing none, we will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like us to speak in support of this request? Please come to the microphone. Is the applicant present? Yes, sir. Okay.
I'm John Bull. My address is 1100 Lincoln Drive, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. Don't really have much more to add. Angela did a pretty good job of laying out what we're doing. There is an existing daycare or early learning center on the south side, and we're moving it to allow more room for the school expansion. Here to answer any questions.
So y'all be taking over that place and then remodeling it and then also using the baseball or soccer field and all
Yes.
that? Okay.
That is correct.
Any other questions of Mr. Bull? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your coming. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? If so, please come to the microphone. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing, and I will now entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Angela, agenda item B, please.
A public hearing will be held to consider application S21-12 filed by Mary Virginia Penwell, requesting a specific use permit to allow for 2 one-family dwellings in heavy commercial zoning district for approximately .497 acres of Lot 1, Block 3, Clear Meadow Estates, Unit 2, located at the southeast corner of Binney Street and Meadowview Drive. The applicant is requesting a specific use permit for 2 one-family dwelling or single-family dwelling units in heavy commercial zoning district. As you can see here, it is currently 1 lot, but they will subdivide it into 2 lots. A specific use permit is required for one-family dwellings in heavy commercial zoning districts to ensure no negative impact on surrounding properties. There are currently one-family dwelling located to the north of this property, as well as an apartment complex to the east of this property. The applicant would like to subdivide this lot into 2 lots and develop 2 one-family dwellings. Staff finds the proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses, therefore it does not constitute spot zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Angela, the zoning on the west side, I know is commercial, correct?
Yes, sir.
But is that,
Excuse
you
It
know,
is commer-
looking at what we see here, that's a commercial zoning, but everything next to it has duplexes or housing in
Yes,
it?
sir. So the previous zoning ordinance did allow single-family or one-family dwellings in heavy commercial zoning district. Through the UDC process, that has been changed just due to, ensuring that, like my staff report said, no negative impact on surrounding commercial and surrounding single-family uses. We just want to ensure that when somebody builds in heavy commercial, that we used to get complaints about people building next to commercial zoning and then complaining about the noise. And so we just want to ensure that that doesn't happen. But in this case, there is single family to the north. There is multifamily to the east. From a land use standpoint, it does make sense.
Okay, any other questions at this point of staff? Is the applicant present? Yes. Would you come to the microphone, please, and tell us about your project?
Good evening. I'm Mary Penwell. My address is 399 Antler, Longview.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to tell us, or do the commissioners have any questions of Mrs. Penwell?
No, my husband purchased this property, and I would now like to sell it, and the buyer would like to place the duplexes on there. And I'd like to see that happen.
Okay.
So you're selling it to someone who's going to develop it and build homes on there, I take it?
Correct.
Okay.
And he's here if you have questions for him.
Yeah, Mr. McCauley's here.
Do you have any questions of the applicant or Mr. Crawley? Okay.
What, are they duplexes that are going in?
No, they're single family, one family.
Thank you, Mrs. Penwell.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of this request? Come to the microphone, please.
Excuse me. I'm Robert Crawley. I live at 4078 Bill Meadows Road, Longview. And I have a contract to purchase this property if this rezoning is approved. I want to, as stated before, build 2 single-family homes on this property. We've provided the plat and the floor plan for one of the homes. I haven't picked out a floor plan for the second home yet. It has considerable room, front and back, for the home. It's approximately 1,700 square feet. And I think it would be a big improvement for this neighborhood. There are other homes, as shown, just to the north of it, and there are very nice apartments behind it on the east side. So there is no real active commercial property things going on in that area at this time. We looked at this at the aerial photographs of this back to the 60s, and there's never been any development on that property. There's a vacant lot across the street. It's well kept. It's mowed. I think this would be a big improvement for that area.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Crawley? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wants to speak in support? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Come to the microphone now, please. Seeing none, are there any additional questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay, we will close the public hearing, and we'll call for a motion and a second.
Make a motion. Second.
Who did the motion, please?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have it? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item C. Angela?
Thank you. A public hearing will be held to consider application S21-13 filed by Norman Brown and Fang Wan requesting a specific use permit to allow for an existing one-family dwelling in heavy commercial zoning district for lots 13, 15, 17, and Lot A, portion of a unplatted tract known as Lot A, New City Block 3259, Brant subdivision located at 202 Princess Lane. The applicant is requesting a specific use permit to allow for an existing one-family dwelling in heavy commercial zoning district. A specific use permit is required for one-family dwellings in heavy commercial zoning district to ensure no negative impact on surrounding properties. There are currently several one-family dwellings located within this subdivision to the north, west, and south of this neighborhood. The applicant would like to bring the property into compliance with current zoning requirements. Staff does find that the proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses, therefore it does not constitute spot zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
So the application says that they're requesting to rezone the property to include residential, but it won't be a rezone, it will just be the specific use,
Yes,
right?
it's a specific use permit.
Right,
That is
okay.
correct.
So why are we doing this?
They're needing a loan, and so the loan is requiring
Gotcha.
the specific use permit. Or they're in the middle of selling the property.
Any further questions of the commission, of staff? Hearing none, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of this application? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and call for the motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item D, please.
Yes. A public hearing will be held to consider application Z21-17 filed by Nishal Patel requesting a rezone from general retail to light commercial zoning district for Lot 14, Block 1, East Magnolia Addition, located on Revelin Avenue, east of Eastman Road and north of Osborne Street. The applicant is requesting a rezone, as stated before, from general retail to light commercial zoning district. The applicant would like to expand the existing facility. There is currently a storage facility on this property, or to the north and south of this property, and he would like to expand his business, which a storage facility does require a light commercial zoning district. Revelin is classified as a county road and is maintained by Gregg County. Staff finds the proposed zoning change is consistent with surrounding uses and adjacent zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions of staff? Hearing none, is the applicant present? The applicant is not present. Any further questions from the commissioners? We will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of this request? Seeing none, is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition? We'll close the public hearing and call for the motion and a second.
Move approval as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you so much. Agenda item E.
A public hearing will be held to consider application Z21-18 filed by Austin Reich requesting a rezone from one family SF4 to townhome zoning district for approximately 40 acres of abstract 262, A. Jordan Survey, Tract 15, Section 4, and abstract 360, A. Jordan Survey, located on the south side of Page Road, east of Winland Parkway, and west of Victor Drive. The applicant is requesting a rezone from single-family 4 to townhome zoning district, which is a new zoning district within our Unified Development Code. He would like to develop a neighborhood of townhomes with approximately 60 lots. The fire code does require secondary emergency vehicle access for developments that serve more than 30 dwelling units. In this case, if he does propose to do 60 lots, all of the structures within this development will have to be sprinkled. Page Road is classified as a collector and is maintained by the city. Collector roads provide for the collection and distribution of traffic between arterials and local streets. This type of development is appropriate along this roadway as long as access management is followed. Staff does find that the proposed zoning change is consistent with the comprehensive plan, therefore it does not constitute spot zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions of staff?
So it looks like where it's going to be developed is all within that floodplain. Is there any limitations on what they can develop within floodplains, or is that just on them?
So there is, let me get to my-
2 over, I think. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, so there is some floodplain there, but there's also floodway within our floodway. And I'm sorry, I don't have a map showing our floodway, but in the floodway, you cannot develop at all in the floodway. Now, in the floodplain, you can build within the floodway as long as you build, I believe, 2 feet above the finished floor elevation. And you'd have to provide an elevation certificate showing that you meet those requirements.
But in the floodplain, you don't have to.
In the floodplain, you do have to.
Okay.
In the floodway, we do
You
not
can't-
allow any
okay.
construction at all.
Any other questions of staff? Hearing none, we'll ask for the applicant. Are you present, and would you come to the microphone and tell us about your project?
Hi, my name is Austin Reich with Reich Builders. I live at 3900 Gable Crest Lane. Thank you, Angela, for that. That's pretty thorough. Per the neighborhood meeting that we had last night, so I tried to address just all major questions. One of the major questions was the flood zone being there. So there seems to be a lot of flooding that happens sometimes on the west side there. So currently everything flows from the east to the west. So on the screenshot here, it'd be from the right side of the page to the left side there towards the creek. So I tried to reiterate that we would not be adding to that issue whatsoever. Obviously, we have to go through the city and the city engineers, the civil engineers and everything to make sure that the stormwater system withholds our water. So that was a major question and concern there last night. So as far as the quality of these townhomes, so there is going to be a Hallsville school that's being built right now at the end of the street. So this property will be developed sooner or later. So Reich Builders has been in the area since 1991. My dad started the company back then, so we're still very active, and we built a very, very high quality home. So Angela, could you please go to the pictures there? Yes. So we're currently working on this project of townhomes just right in front of Hallsville High School. So I'm not sure if you've been there, but we're currently working on those. So these are going to be very similar. So the majority of these townhomes will be masonry. So there's going to be a little bit of accent siding on the front of them, kind of like this. These will bring a higher value to this area. So I guess really that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions of the applicant?
Is it going to be a private road or public?
Public road. public utilities.
Without a secondary exit, you're going to be required to implement a fire suppression. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's right, for each and every unit.
And that doesn't affect, Angela, like the capacity of the current infrastructure as far as the water pressure or anything like that. Is that the type of fire suppression that? I guess I'm asking the volume of water that's running through there. I mean, that's adequate for having a fire suppression on 60 dwellings?
Flow test.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be part of their engineering review of the water system. The residential systems operate a little differently than the commercial systems do. A lot of times it's like a combo system, so it's a little different animal. But yeah, when they're sizing and doing their capacity study, that'll be part of the review.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Yes, ma'am.
We will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak in support of this request? Please come to the microphone. Anyone else? Seeing none, is there anyone that wants to speak in opposition to the request? You may come to the microphone and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Todd Dupree. I live at 2120 Page Road. And I don't know so much my concern is opposition as it is a concern. The entrance to this subdivision would be at the bottom of a hill. And there's a lot of traffic on the road already, and it's not a road that's very wide. It doesn't have shoulders. And so my only concern is there are going to be more buses, there are going to be more kids. The subdivision across the way has 3 entrances to Alpine. I would just like to know what safety precautions, what studies have been done, because you can't see. I live on top of the hill, so I have the advantage of being able to see down both. But when you get down to that bottom of that hill, and a lot of people do not observe the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. So my concern is for traffic accidents that could happen at that particular location. And that is really the only concern that I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Carla Alexander. I live on 1250 Hummingbird Circle. I am the president of the HOA for the Wingsong Association. Like he mentioned, Page Road is definitely one of our concerns. We would like to acknowledge that Page Road is definitely currently a high-rate traffic flow with minimal road availability. And Mr. Reich is talking about adding 60 more families, approximately 120 more cars to that road, which would add further congestion to an already overcrowded traffic area. We would like to know what measures Mr. Reich will be taking to alleviate any further flooding to our already overloaded neighborhood and park. Like you mentioned, the water flow has definitely been an issue. We've had sewage problems in our bathtubs, in our backyard. So it's, I'm sure it's not going to be his issue, but it's definitely our issue that we feel that his new addition is going to be adding to our problem. And we are also currently dealing with the runoff water and debris from Page Place apartments in the church. And we just feel that this will also be adding to it since we are at the bottom of the hill, basically. I would also like for Mr. Reich to consider any negative impact his project will have on our backyards and our common areas, because it is basically right behind us. And that's all I have for now. I also do have a petition. We are objecting to rezoning the property of 2140 Page Road. There are 27 signatures from the Hummingbird Circle and 2 of Victor Drive. So I don't know if I hand that to you. And those were just a few signatures that we were able to gather from just last night when he spoke to us.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Alexander. Did anybody have any questions?
I'm sorry, I had difficulty, I guess, hearing part of this. You're kind of soft-spoken.
Sorry.
But basically, your opposition's due to the traffic and the flooding, and what was the other point?
That's basically.
Those 2 points there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other speakers?
I'm Sandy Holton, and I reside at 1902 Mariah Court in the Windsong subdivision where Carla lives. There are currently 45 homes in our subdivision, and the proposal is for 60 more in that new unit, in that new area. This equates to roughly 1.25 times more road traffic on Page Road, and it equates to roughly 1.25 times more sewage flow in our already overtaxed sewer mains. Backing up to the traffic on Page Road, it will be vastly increased with this subdivision, and at this time, it's already dangerous turning onto Page Road from our subdivision because of the hill, like that gentleman mentioned. It's especially in the morning as the sun comes up in the east, you can't see cars coming down that hill. And there have been several times where I've almost made a miscalculation and pulled out because I didn't see the car in the sun. The streets, the driveways, and the roofs in the new development will prevent the ground from absorbing or slowing runoff into the drainage. And the area, as the area uphill from Windsong has been developed, the water runoff has increased drastically. And this causes the flood easement to carry water at or above ground level all winter and spring, usually starting with the deciduous trees going dormant. We would like to know if a soil survey's been carried out in the proposed area, because we've found that in our area there's a thin layer of topsoil followed by a thick layer of hard pan and one or more layers of sand. This causes the grade to sink when the water gets into the sand layer. And you can see this on Winland Parkway and also in the ditch draining the floodplain easement. On Winland Parkway, the road has settled roughly 3 inches due to water flowing under the road through the sand layer. Thank you.
Okay, you live in can you put that map
Windsong,
back up, the aerial
Windsong.
view, please?
Windsong subdivision.
The aerial view that was on there.
This one or the other?
The other one, I think, that showed the streets in there. Okay, that's fine. You live in what edition? Winland Parkway?
I live on Mariah Court, just off of Winland Parkway.
Yeah, see it at the top.
Windsong subdivision.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Holton. Yes, we have another speaker.
Yes, thank you. My name is Marcia Hall, and I live at 2122 Page Road. This property is directly behind my house. I think one thing we have not thought about is the new construction of the grade school. That alone is going to add tons of traffic going through Page Road at the loop. You know, that's supposed to be done in what, 6 months, 8 months? Page Road, as everyone has said, is a dangerous road, and it's going to be multiplied now with all the traffic. That's my big objection.
Okay, thanks, Mrs. Hall. Any questions of Mrs. Hall? Thank you. Anyone else?
I was not planning on asking questions. I apologize. Hello. I do want to thank you all for thoroughly going through it. I appreciate it as a resident of, Angela Walker at 1212 Hummingbird Circle. I am on the map in the corner where it's going to affect the runoff, and he did a great job of explaining last night. I do want to explain that some of the residents were not able to make it, but as you know, that they have already signed the petition, and they had some true concerns that they wanted voiced. My concern is with the water, like they were saying. Right now, when it comes, my house kind of sits at an angle, so it runs off to the backyard, and then there is I guess y'all call it a runaway. I'm not good on the terminology, but it runs off. And like he was explaining last night, I had a question about he said, well, it won't affect that because he's not building close enough to it. But, and this may just be a question that, I don't know, I don't get it because I'm not an engineer, but even when you build something where the ground was absorbing the water before, now you have concrete and stuff, so won't it increase as far as the rain and the wash away? It will increase the capacity that it's going to receive in that wash away. And if we're already getting problems on our end, And I mean, I understand, like he stated, you know, it looks beautiful, it's great, but kind of the communities around have that concern. And with the roads, as far as, I don't know if they showed a road picture, it is a narrow road. I love it, I run it, I'm a runner, but definitely at the bottom of that hill where he's talking about making an entrance, if somebody tops the hill, it's kind of too late to slow down. I mean, it's a short distance that you have to slow down. And that's a true concern. I would not want anybody, I have children of my own, I don't let them go outside of the area because the way the hill sits, and that's all my concerns. But I do appreciate y'all for listening.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. We appreciate your coming. Anyone else? I have a speaker card for David Richardson. No? Okay. Thank you. Would you like to come? Are you in support of?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you like to speak at the microphone?
I mean, I don't, what else you could say? There's
Okay.
duplexes all the way around, there's townhouses right around.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
For it or opposed to it?
He says he's for it, I believe. Do we have a new speaker here? Yes, sir. Will you come to the microphone?
My name's Damon Reher. I live at 17 Victor Drive. I went to the meeting last night and he had some preliminary drawings laid out. My concerns were privacy. He had the properties butted up back to back. Didn't see any kind of buffer or any trees or bushes in between the properties. Just, he said there was going to be a privacy fence, but that's not very much privacy if you know how those work. But and then he also said in the future there might be a second addition behind this one, and he was going to have to come in through Victor Drive, which is a dead-end street now. And if he adds that later in the future, that's going to be tons of traffic coming through a dead-end street that normally doesn't have any at all. These are some of the concerns I brought up last night, and he said that he would consider those. I don't know what all y'all talked about before I got here. I was a little bit late.
It's all right. Damon, what was your last name again?
Reher.
How do you spell that?
R-E-E-H-E-R.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Any additional questions or comments?
Has there been any due diligence with regard to the traffic? Has that been an issue you guys had any concerns with, or?
I mean, I haven't addressed it yet. I mean, this is just very preliminary. You know, our, in the pre-development meetings, we did have an engineer in there. But as far as getting to the specific engineering questions on site distances and offsets for, traffic control, water and sewer, we've not gone down that path yet.
So right now, they're trying to rezone it from one family to townhome. If they were to not rezone it and just like build within the one family designation, what would they need? They would just need to plat it and build it?
That is correct.
So on a 40-acre lot, they could build how many homes? If they do minimal square footage of, how much is it, 1,400, 1,200?
They could probably get to 60. I mean, the reality, the biggest difference that they're asking for is a little additional density.
Right, to where they're attached as opposed to separated out. But they could build 60 single-family homes within the same designation or with the current designation without the rezoning. So,
And the reality, the density doesn't change because the future land use map specifies the density. They will get to take advantage of utilizing a little bit more of the developable land.
Right.
Because they can use that kind of credit of the floodplain because it's density for the total acreage.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can use that to kind of offset. So that's where the townhouse lets them offset not being able to develop all of the floodplain and everything and get a little bit more development opportunity. But the reality is, yes, they could probably do 60 lots on the full acreage, but that would be it. There would be no additional opportunity.
right. It just sounds like there's going to be some longer-term development things that need to happen there on sewage and water and all that on the city side.
And they'll have to, their engineer will have to submit their plans, they'll have to do 8-inch water lines. I don't know what's on Page Road at the moment, but our engineers will review, and that's just part of their basic civil review, is to review the existing capacity and what the new demand is going to be, both water, sewer, stormwater as well.
And that process would be the same if it was SF4 or townhome, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
So if they develop single family as it's zoned right now, there's a possibility you'd have the same number of people in there close to it, correct?
Yes and no. It's apples to oranges, because it would be 60 and you're done, whereas this is 60 and you still have opportunity for phase 2. Now, based on what he's showing, phase 2's got some challenges with access and everything else, but so yeah, there's opportunity for them to have more.
What did you say the long-term planning map shows this area being?
Sorry. It's low-density residential.
Yeah, and so when we calculate density, we calculate of the total lot. So, yeah, it's going to be dense in this one area, but you have to calculate the area that's undeveloped with the floodplain. There's a huge area that they're not developing. It's very similar to down the street, the Page Creek development, where they did townhouses, and they had a lot of undevelopable property that helped them offset that a little bit.
Which Page Creek is just to the north, if you can look at my arrow.
Any additional questions or comments before we close the public hearing?
I would like to mention, yesterday when we talked.
Can you come to the microphone,
Yeah,
please?
please.
Yesterday at the meeting, he also didn't give us an answer whether it was going to be first homes for sale versus homes for rent. And we do feel that, if there's 60 homes, people are more willing to buy 60 homes than people buying a duplex. So that's also something that, we're considering, just people coming in and out of that area, basically. And like the gentleman mentioned, this is it's not very private, but you don't see a lot of traffic there, and that's something that we're not used to. And like Angela mentioned, we're runners around there, so we're not. I guess the point that I'm just trying to make is 60 houses versus duplexes plus an addition. It makes a big difference in how our community looks. That's basically all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Alexander. Any other comments or questions?
I mean, I think it's kind of fair at this point to have engineering look at this and make sure we can increase the density in our utilities, because the long-term plan isn't for a more dense area. So I don't know, we need to make sure we can handle it.
When it sounds like regardless if it's single-family homes or, the multifamily or the duplexes, they're having issues already. So
Right.
those need to be addressed, period. So hopefully this could be a boon for the neighborhood, that it will, get worked on.
In addition, it sounds like there's an overarching concern for traffic, well, maybe the speed of the traffic specifically. So it's hard to tell proximity to where this is going to be in location or in regard to the new school. So how does a county or the city, how do they change speed limits? I mean, what's the current speed limit?
Is it 40?
Yeah.
It's 40?
Yeah.
The neighbors are saying it's 40.
So being close to a school, is that too far out of reach to say that they could come in and change that to a 25? I mean, I'm probably sure it's not a school zone.
Yeah, it's not. It's too far from the school to be
could you reduce?
designated as a school zone. The problem when you start doing traffic analysis, they'll go in and they kind of go by the 80% rule. So they'll go in, and if the road will support the speed, then you
Get
know,
there fast.
there's a real possibility that if they went and did a speed study, the speed limit could go up.
How far is it from the school, actually?
So the school, if you could look at my arrow, the school is going right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Half a mile? Thank you. Any further comments? Questions? We'll close the public hearing. Call for the motion and a second.
I'm going to make a motion that we deny this at this time until they do further studies on it, perhaps bring it back to us.
We have a motion and a second to deny.
So can we ask what that is? Like, can we ask that engineering, take a look at this before we make this decision?
Yes.
Because I just hate to table it kind of indefinitely.
Well, no, it wouldn't table it. So if you make a recommendation to deny, that's a denial. It could still move forward to city council. It would just require a super majority vote from council to override that denial. It's just with that comment that, hey, we might be ready to approve it if we had some certainties with the water, sewer, and some of the other things. That's strictly kind of a recommendation because, ultimately council would be the one to make that decision. So, if you said, hey, come back next month and bring those, bring some of that information, then that could be something, and I don't know, they may have already done some of that. We just don't have it. I don't know how far they've engaged their engineering team. Normally, they haven't done it at this stage because that costs money, and zoning is more conceptual because that's something that our engineer's going to review anyways, even if you rezone it in the week, because there's a lot of different ways they could get, just because they have two-family zoning doesn't mean that they're going to go as dense as they could. They may just do, phase 1 of 20 lots. Now, we know what he's shown, but, our city engineer is going to require that anyways. That's already a minimum that we require. So.
Well, the land is going to be developed. I have no doubt about that. How it's going to be developed, I'm just saying it's up to the rest of these guys that maybe we need a little bit more information.
Yep.
So you want to modify your motion? You want to restate it?
Well, I'm not sure I can, what I said. That I make a motion that we deny it this time until we get further information from engineer reports. Cody, did I say it correctly? You're kind of an engineer.
I think so. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I want to understand that we can handle the density that we're adding. And if we can, then, I think we address it at that time. But based on what we know, I'm kind of with Pat.
Yeah. I don't have any opposition to it as far as that goes. It's just that we need a little bit more information on it.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to deny until further information, correct? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your participation and your attendance tonight. This concludes today's meeting, and we are adjourned.